In the forgotten corner of Ashton County stood a weathered storage shed that most people would walk past without a second glance. Yet within those thin wooden walls lived Donna Miller and her twin children, Alan and Amy. The shed measured barely 20 feet by 15 feet, with a leaky roof that Donna had patched numerous times with whatever materials she could find. A small wood stove in the corner provided heat during the bitter winter months, and 3 narrow cots lined one wall. A wobbly table with 3 mismatched chairs served as both dining area and classroom. Donna hadn't always lived this way. 5 years earlier, she had been a happily married nurse's aide with a modest home and simple dreams for her family. Then her husband Jack died in the Black Ridge mining accident, leaving her alone with 3-year-old twins and a mountain of medical bills from his final months. The economic collapse that followed hit their small town particularly hard. The hospital, where Donna worked, reduced her hours, and within a year, she lost their home. With nowhere else to go, she converted the old storage shed on her late parents' property into a makeshift home. The property taxes were low enough that she could manage them alongside their basic needs. "We have each other," Donna told her children each night as she tucked them into bed. "And we have our minds. No one can take either away from us." By the time the twins turned 8, the local elementary school had closed due to budget cuts. The nearest functioning school was in Westfield, nearly 40 miles away. Without reliable transportation and working 3 jobs to keep food on the table, Donna faced an impossible situation. Rather than watching her children grow up without education, she decided to teach them herself. Every morning, Donna woke at 4:30 to prepare lessons before leaving for her first job as a cleaner at the truck stop diner. She would leave handwritten assignments for the twins on the table along with their breakfast. At noon, she returned home during her break between jobs to check their work and have lunch with them. In the evening, after finishing her shift at the grocery store, she taught them for 2 hours before falling asleep, exhausted, only to repeat the cycle the next day. "Mom, why can't we go to school like other kids?" Amy asked one evening, as Donna struggled to stay awake while teaching them fractions. Donna smoothed her daughter's hair back. "Sometimes life gives us different paths, sweetheart, but that doesn't mean we can't learn just as much." What Donna lacked in formal teaching credentials, she made up for with determination. She visited the county library on Sundays to borrow books for the upcoming week's lessons. When the library closed due to funding cuts, she began collecting discarded textbooks from thrift stores and yard sales. By the age of 10, the twins displayed remarkable aptitude for learning. Alan could solve complex math problems that Donna herself struggled with, while Amy devoured any reading material she could find. Their small shed filled with salvaged books, stacked in neat piles against every wall. Donna noticed their growing abilities and worried they would soon surpass what she could teach them. She took on an additional weekend cleaning job at the old community center, where she met Carol Hayes, a retired high school teacher. "My children are bright," Donna told Carol one Saturday as they dusted the abandoned classrooms. "But I'm afraid I won't be able to give them what they need." Carol visited the shed the following Sunday. She spent hours quizzing the twins and left amazed by their knowledge. "These children have extraordinary potential," she told Donna. "I'll help however I can." From then on, Carol visited weekly, bringing advanced textbooks and creating specialized lesson plans. She taught the twins algebra, biology, and literature far beyond their grade level. When Alan and Amy turned 11, Donna's streak of misfortune turned slightly. The manager at Wilson's Grocery noticed her work ethic and promoted her to night manager. The small increase in pay allowed her to save enough to purchase a discontinued computer from the closing library. The computer changed everything. Though they had no internet connection, Carol brought educational software and programming manuals. The twins spent every free moment learning from the old machine. By 12, they had taught themselves basic coding and could create simple programs. "The world runs on computers now," Donna told them. "Learn this and you'll never go hungry." Life in the shed was far from easy. Winter brought freezing temperatures that the wood stove barely kept at bay. They collected rainwater in barrels during spring and summer to reduce water costs. Electricity was their biggest luxury, and Donna enforced strict rules about its use. Yet despite these hardships, The twins thrived intellectually. Their makeshift classroom expanded as they converted every inch of the shed into learning space. Alan hung hand-drawn solar system charts above his bed. Amy covered her wall with vocabulary lists in multiple languages she taught herself from old textbooks. When the twins turned 13, Carol brought them news that would shape their future. "The state requires testing for homeschooled children," she explained. "If you pass, you'll receive official records of your education." For weeks, the twins prepared with nervous energy. Donna took time off work to help them study, knowing how crucial these tests would be for their future opportunities. On testing day, Carol drove them to the county education office. Donna waited outside, too anxious to sit still. When they emerged, 4 hours later, Carol's face told the story before she spoke. "They didn't just pass," she whispered to Donna. "They scored at college level in mathematics and science. The administrators want to meet with you." That evening, as they celebrated, with a rare store-bought cake, Donna watched her children with quiet pride. Their faces glowed in the light of the single candle they could afford. "I told you," she said softly. "What's in your heads, no one can ever take away." As the twins fell asleep that night, Donna sat at their wobbly table planning lessons for the coming week. Outside, the night sky stretched endlessly above their humble shed. Neither she nor the sleeping children could possibly know that within those brilliant young minds lay ideas that would someday reach those very stars. The education office administrator had pulled Donna aside earlier that day. "Your children have remarkable gifts," he had told her. "Gifts that shouldn't be wasted in this town." Donna had nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "They won't be," she had promised, "whatever it takes." And she meant it. As she extinguished the candle to save wax, Donna Miller made the same silent vow she had made every night since moving into the shed. Her children would have the future they deserved, no matter the cost to herself. 4 years passed in the small shed that the Millers called home. Alan and Amy were now 17, and their thirst for knowledge had only grown stronger. The shed itself had changed with them. Salvaged bookshelves lined every available wall. Their old computer had been joined by 2 more that Donna had purchased from a closing business office, though they were nearly as outdated as the first. What had once been a single room now had thin plywood partitions creating a small bedroom, space for Donna and a shared study area for the twins. The twins slept in the main space, their cots positioned on opposite sides of the wood stove that remained their only source of heat. Carol Hayes still visited weekly, though her role had changed. Rather than teaching the twins, she now mostly listened as they explained concepts that often went beyond her understanding. She had brought them advanced textbooks on physics, engineering, and computer science from the community college where she occasionally substituted. "Those 2 are going to change the world someday," Carol told Donna one afternoon as they watched the twins hunched over complex equations at the table. "Have you thought about college for them?" Donna's face tightened. "Every day. But even with scholarships, there would be costs we can't manage." She didn't mention the growing pile of medical bills from her own recent health problems that she kept hidden from the children. Alan and Amy had taken to spending hours at the county junkyard, bringing home discarded electronics and mechanical parts. The shed's small back porch had become a workshop where they built strange contraptions that Donna couldn't begin to understand. "We need more books on quantum mechanics," Amy announced one evening during dinner, which consisted of beans and rice. For the 3rd night that week, Donna looked up tiredly from her small portion. Her night manager job at the grocery store had been cut back to part-time, and she had taken on additional house cleaning jobs to make up the difference. "I'll see what I can find next payday, sweetheart." Alan put down his fork. "Mom, we've been thinking. Maybe we should try to get real jobs. We could help with the bills." Donna shook her head firmly. "Your job is learning. Your minds are too valuable to waste on minimum wage work right now." She didn't tell them how many nights she lay awake worrying about their future, about the opportunities they deserved but might never get. The following Tuesday changed everything. Alan had been taking apart an old radio they'd found when he noticed something peculiar about one of the components. When exposed to a small electromagnetic field from another device, the material behaved in a way that contradicted what their physics books predicted. Amy, look at this, he called to his sister, who was reading by the window to catch the last of the evening light. They spent the entire night experimenting with the component, taking careful notes and drawing diagrams. By morning, when Donna returned from her night shift, they had filled a notebook with equations. "Mom," Amy said excitedly as Donna hung her coat on the nail by the door. "We found something weird." Donna smiled tiredly. "What is it this time?" The twins were always discovering things that fascinated them, from unusual insects to mathematical patterns. Alan held up their notebook. "We think we might have stumbled onto something important. The way this material interacts with electromagnetic fields doesn't match any theory we've studied." Donna looked at the pages of complex formulas. Though she couldn't understand them, she recognized the intensity in her children's eyes. "Then you should keep studying it. Don't let anything stop you when you're onto something." Over the next few weeks, the twins became obsessed with their discovery. They created crude measuring devices from salvaged parts. They filled notebook after notebook with calculations and theories. One evening, Carol brought a visitor to the shed, Dr. Ben Harris, a physics professor from the community college. Carol had mentioned the twins' work to him, and though skeptical, he had agreed to take a look. "Your children are self-taught?" Dr. Harris asked Donna incredulously after spending 2 hours with Alan and Amy. Donna nodded. "With some help from Carol, yes." Dr. Harris shook his head in amazement. "Mrs. Miller, what they're working on is well beyond undergraduate-level physics. It appears they may have identified a previously unknown property in certain materials when exposed to specific electromagnetic conditions." "Is that important?" Donna asked. "If their mathematics proves correct, it could be very important indeed," he replied. "With your permission, I'd like to help them formalize their research." Dr. Harris began visiting the shed twice a week. He brought equipment from the college lab and helped the twins refine their experiments. More importantly, he taught them proper scientific methodology and how to document their findings. "You need to be meticulous," he told them. Scientific discovery requires absolute precision and honesty. By the time they turned 18, Alan and Amy had developed what they called field response theory. Their work suggested that certain materials under very specific conditions could create localized disturbances in gravitational fields. In simple terms, Alan tried to explain to Donna one evening, "We think we might have found a way to affect gravity." "Like making things float?" Donna asked, trying to understand. Amy smiled. "Not exactly, but something that could potentially lead there someday. The theory still needs a lot of work." Dr. Harris arranged for the twins to present their findings at a small scientific conference at the community college. It would be their first time speaking in front of an audience, and they were terrified. The night before the conference, Donna found them at the table, rewriting their notes for the 10th time. She placed a small package in front of each of them. "What's this?" Alan asked. "Open it," Donna said. Inside each package was a simple but new button-up shirt. Donna had worked extra cleaning jobs for weeks to afford them. "You should look like the brilliant scientist you are," she said. Amy hugged her mother tightly. "What if no one believes us? We don't have degrees or proper education." Donna held her daughter's face between her worn hands. "Truth doesn't need credentials to be true. Your work will speak for itself." The next day, Donna sat in the back row of the small college auditorium, watching her children present their theory to a room of academics. Though she couldn't follow the technical aspects, she could see the growing interest on the faces of the professors as Alan and Amy explained their findings. Dr. Harris had been right. The scientific community might not have been ready for 2 self-taught teenagers from a shed to challenge established physics, but the evidence they presented was too compelling to dismiss. As they finished their presentation, a tall man in an expensive suit approached Donna. "Mrs. Miller, I'm Dr. Peter Grant from National Science Foundation. Your children have done something remarkable. We should talk about their future." For the first time in 15 years, Donna Miller allowed herself to hope that the sacrifices she had made might truly lead her children to the better life she had always dreamed of giving them. The meeting with Dr. Peter Grant changed everything for the Miller family. After reviewing the twins' research, He offered them a special grant from the National Science Foundation. The grant included funding for their continued research and a stipend that would allow them to focus on their work full-time. "This is an unusual situation," Dr. Grant explained to Donna as they sat at the wobbly table in the shed. "Normally, we fund researchers with formal education credentials, but your children's work is too important to ignore based on technicalities." Donna could hardly believe what was happening. For 15 years she had sacrificed everything to give her children a chance at education, never knowing if it would lead anywhere. Now suddenly their future seemed full of possibilities. "What exactly does this mean for them?" she asked. "It means they can continue their research with proper equipment and support," Dr. Grant replied. "We'll provide what they need right here, if that's where they prefer to work." Alan and Amy insisted on remaining in the shed. Despite its limitations, it was the only home they remembered, and the place where their discovery had been born. Dr. Grant arranged for improvements: proper insulation, reliable electricity, and high-speed internet connection. Most importantly, he provided them with advanced scientific equipment they had only dreamed of using. The twins were now 19, and their work was progressing rapidly. What had begun as an unusual observation about electromagnetic fields had evolved into a comprehensive theory about manipulating gravitational forces. The scientific community remained skeptical, but their mathematical models were sound enough that the National Science Foundation continued their funding. Donna had finally been able to reduce her workload to just one full-time job at the grocery store. For the first time in years, she could sleep regular hours and spend more time with her children. She marveled at the transformation of their little shed, where once there had been only salvaged furniture and hand-me-down books. Now there were computers, laboratory equipment, and a small library of scientific journals. "I still don't understand what you're working on," she admitted to her children one evening. "But I'm so proud of you both." Amy smiled at her mother. "We're trying to build a device that can create a controlled disturbance in gravitational fields. Basically, we want to make a small area where gravity works differently." "And what would that be used for?" Donna asked. "Everything," Alan replied excitedly. "If it works, it could change how we build structures, how we travel, even how we generate energy." 6 months into their grant work, the twins reached a critical point in their research. They had designed a prototype device that, according to their calculations, should be able to create a measurable gravitational disturbance. "We're ready to test it," Amy told Dr. Grant during his monthly visit. "But we need some specialized materials." Dr. Grant looked over their design carefully. "This is highly experimental. The foundation will need more convincing before funding this level of equipment." Donna, who had been listening from the kitchen area, spoke up. "What if they could show a smaller version working first? Something that proves the concept?" Dr. Grant considered this. "If you could demonstrate even a small-scale effect, it would certainly help your case." Over the next few weeks, the twins worked tirelessly to build a scaled-down version of their device using materials they could afford or salvage. The prototype was crude compared to their original design, but they believed it would be enough to prove their theory correct. On a cold November evening, they were finally ready. Donna took the day off work to be present for the test. Dr. Grant arrived with 2 colleagues from the foundation, their faces showing a mixture of curiosity and doubt. The device sat on the table in the center of the shed. It was an odd arrangement of coils, magnets, and electronic components connected to a power source and measuring equipment. "We're only using 5% of the power our full design would require," Alan explained. "So the effect will be very small and brief. We're aiming for a 10% reduction in gravitational force within a 6-inch diameter field," Amy added. "It should be enough to measure, but not enough to see with the naked eye." Dr. Grant nodded. "Proceed when you're ready." Alan typed commands into the computer while Amy adjusted settings on the device. The air in the shed was tense with anticipation. "Initiating in 3, 2, 1, Alan said, and pressed the final key. The device hummed softly. Lights flickered on the monitoring equipment. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then one of Dr. Grant's colleagues gasped and pointed to the measurement displays. "That's impossible," he whispered. The readings showed a clear 15% reduction in gravitational force within the target area. It was small, and it lasted only 8 seconds before the device automatically shut down, but it was undeniable. "Doctor," Grant stared at the twins in amazement. "You did it. You actually did it." The room erupted in excited conversation. The scientists examined the readings, asked questions, and demanded to see the test again. The twins obliged, running the device 3 more times with consistent results. When the excitement finally settled, Dr. Grant turned to Donna. "Mrs. Miller, your children have just made one of the most significant scientific breakthroughs of the century. The Foundation will provide whatever resources they need to develop this technology." Later that night, after the scientists had left, with promises of immediate support, the Miller family sat together in their transformed shed. The reality of what had happened was still sinking in. "Do you know what this means?" Amy asked her mother. "If we can scale this up, we could revolutionize space travel, reduce the fuel needed to escape Earth's gravity by a significant amount. And construction," Alan added. "Imagine building skyscrapers where the materials temporarily weigh less during placement." Donna looked at her children with tears in her eyes. "I always knew you were special. From the moment you were born, I knew you would do amazing things." The twins moved to sit beside their mother, one on each side, just as they had done as small children during their first lessons at the wobbly table. "None of this would have happened without you," Alan said softly. "You gave up everything so we could learn." "You taught us the most important lesson," Amy added. "That knowledge is worth any sacrifice." Donna put her arms around her children, her heart full of pride and wonder. Outside their little shed, the stars shone brightly in the night sky. The same stars that had witnessed their struggles and hardships now looked down on their triumph. "Tomorrow," Donna said, "everything changes. But tonight, let's just be thankful for how far we've come." None of them could possibly imagine just how much would change, or how quickly. By the following spring, the shed would become the headquarters of the Miller Gravitational Research Center, and their names would be known in scientific circles around the world. 5 years passed since the twins' first successful test of their gravity modification device. Alan and Amy Miller were now 24 years old and leading a team of 30 scientists at the Miller Gravitational Research Center. What had once been a small shed was now the historical centerpiece of a modern research campus spread across 5 acres of land that Donna had been able to purchase with the twins' first major research grant. The original shed remained largely untouched amid the new buildings. It served as both a reminder of their humble beginnings and as the twins' private workspace where they still preferred to develop their most innovative ideas away from the bustle of the main research facilities. Donna had finally retired from all her jobs. At 50 years old, she now served as the administrative director of the research center, handling the practical matters that allowed her children to focus on their scientific work. Though she still didn't fully understand the complex physics behind their discoveries, she had an uncanny ability to manage the growing organization and keep operations running smoothly. On a bright spring morning, Alan found his mother sitting, alone in the old shed, running her hand along the worn table where she had once taught them their first lessons. "Remembering the old days?" he asked, sitting beside her. Donna smiled. "Sometimes I can hardly believe how far we've come. From teaching you basic math on scrap paper to this." She gestured toward the window where the new laboratory buildings gleamed in the morning sun. "We wouldn't be here without you," Alan said, a response that had become almost ritual between them over the years, but no less sincere for its repetition. Their conversation was interrupted when Amy burst through the door, her face alight with excitement. "They approved it," she exclaimed. "The space agency just gave us the green light for the orbital test." This was the news they had been waiting for. After years of refining their technology and proving its safety on Earth, they would finally be permitted to test their full-scale gravitational field generator in space. If successful, it would pave the way for revolutionary advances in space travel. "When?" Donna asked, her heart racing with a mixture of pride and worry. 6 months from now, Amy replied. They're modifying one of their cargo vessels to carry our equipment. We'll be able to create a gravity reduction field large enough to affect an entire spacecraft. The following 6 months were a whirlwind of activity. The research center worked around the clock to prepare their equipment for space deployment. Government officials and representatives from private aerospace companies visited regularly, eager to witness the progress of technology that could transform humanity's reach into space. Through it all, the twins maintained their focus, working closely with their team to ensure every component was perfect. The stakes were enormous. A successful test would secure funding and support for years to come. Failure could set their work back indefinitely. As the launch date approached, Donna noticed her children spending more time in the old shed, often working late into the night just as they had as teenagers. "Are you worried?" she asked them one evening as she brought them sandwiches and coffee. "A little," Amy admitted. "We've run thousands of simulations, but space conditions are different. There are variables we can't perfectly predict. Plus, the whole world will be watching," Alan added. "This isn't like our first test with just Dr. Grant and his colleagues. If something goes wrong..." Donna set down the tray and pulled up a chair. "Do you remember what I used to tell you when you were little? When you were afraid of trying something new?" The twins smiled, reciting together. "Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing it anyway." The day of the launch arrived. Donna and the twins traveled to the Space Center, where they would monitor the test from Mission Control. Their equipment had been installed on the cargo vessel weeks earlier and thoroughly checked by both their team and space agency engineers. The launch went perfectly. The cargo vessel achieved stable orbit, and after a series of routine checks, it was time for the test. The mission control room fell silent as Alan gave the command to activate the Miller gravitational field generator. "Initiating startup sequence," the spacecraft operator reported. "All systems nominal." On the main screen, they watched as power readings climbed steadily. The generator was designed to create a field that would reduce the gravitational effect on the entire spacecraft by 30%, enough to be clearly measurable but not so much as to disrupt its orbit. "Field generator at full power," the operator announced. "Field generation commencing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the data began streaming across the monitoring screens, mass readings decreasing. 20%, 25%, 30%, holding steady at 32% reduction. The room erupted in cheers. The twins had done it. Their technology was working perfectly in space. "Wait," Amy said suddenly, pointing to one of the screens. "Look at the field boundaries." The gravitational field was expanding beyond the expected, parameters growing larger than their calculations had predicted. "Should we shut it down?" the mission director asked with concern. Alan studied the readings intently. "No, the field is stable. It's just more efficient in space than we anticipated. This is actually better than we hoped." The test continued for 30 minutes, with all systems performing beyond expectations. When they finally powered down the generator, the data they had collected was more promising than anyone had dared to dream. At the press conference that followed, Alan and Amy explained the significance of their results to the assembled reporters. "What we demonstrated today," Amy said, "is the ability to reduce the effective mass of a spacecraft by nearly 1/3 without affecting its structural integrity or systems." In practical terms, Alan continued, this means spacecraft would require significantly less fuel to maneuver in space. It could extend mission durations, increase payload capacity, and make longer journeys possible with current propulsion technology. One reporter raised her hand. "There are rumors that this technology could eventually enable faster-than-light travel. Is there any truth to that?" The twins exchanged a glance before Amy answered carefully. "Our current work doesn't address FTL travel. However, the principles we're establishing could someday contribute to more advanced propulsion theories. Right now, we're focused on the practical applications within our reach." After the press conference, the family returned to their hotel room, exhausted but elated. As Donna prepared tea in the small kitchenette, she listened to her children discussing potential refinements to their system based on the day's data. I knew you could do it, she said, setting cups in front of them. From the first time you showed me those equations in our little shed, I knew this day would come. Alan looked up from his notes. We're thinking about the next step, Mom. If the space agency approves, we want to install generators on an actual crewed mission. Maybe the moon station supply runs. Donna sipped her tea, watching her children with quiet pride. The twins, who had once learned by candlelight in a drafty, were now leading humanity toward the stars. Whatever came next, she knew one thing with absolute certainty: the sacrifices had been worth it. 25 years had passed since Donna Miller first converted that old storage shed into a home for her family. The twins, Alan and Amy, were now 30 years old and recognized worldwide as the pioneers of gravitational field technology. Their discovery had transformed space exploration, architecture, and energy production across the globe. The morning sun shone through the windows of Donna's comfortable office at the Miller Institute headquarters. At 55, she still maintained her role as administrative director, though she now had a staff of 20 people working under her. Her simple desk faced a large window that overlooked the sprawling campus that had grown from their humble beginnings. Donna picked up the framed photograph on her desk, a faded image of the original shed where it all began. Sometimes she still couldn't believe how far they had come from those difficult days of working 3 jobs and teaching her children by candlelight. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Dr. Grant entered, now in his 70s but still serving as an advisor to the Institute. "Good morning, Donna," he said, taking a seat across from her. "Today's the big day. Are you ready?" Donna nodded, though her stomach fluttered with nervousness. "As ready as I'll ever be. I still don't understand why they want me there." "This is Alan and Amy's moment," Dr. Grant smiled knowingly. "You'll understand soon enough. The car will be here in an hour, across the country at the National Space Center." Final preparations were underway for the most ambitious space mission in human history. The spacecraft Horizon stood on the launch pad, gleaming in the morning light. Unlike previous vessels, this one was not bound for the moon or Mars, but for the stars. Alan and Amy moved through the busy control room, checking final details with their team. The Horizon was equipped with their latest gravitational field technology, paired with a revolutionary propulsion system they had developed over the past decade. Together, these innovations would allow the ship to achieve speeds previously thought impossible. "Final systems check complete," the mission director announced. "We are go for launch in T-3 hours." Amy turned to her brother. "Is Mom here yet?" Alan checked his watch. "Her flight should have landed. She'll be here soon." When Donna arrived at the Space Center, she was surprised to be escorted not to the family viewing area, but to a private conference room. Inside, she found Alan, Amy, and several high-ranking officials from the space agency and government. "Mom," Alan said, embracing her, "we're so glad you made it." Before Donna could ask questions, the space agency director stood and addressed the room. "Today marks a historic moment for humanity. In 3 hours, we will launch the first vessel capable of reaching another star system within a single human lifetime." He turned to face Donna directly. "Mrs. Miller, your children have requested that this mission be dedicated to you. The official designation of today's mission is Project Donna, and the spacecraft has been named Education in honor of your extraordinary dedication to your children's learning." Donna's hand flew to her mouth in surprise as tears filled her eyes. Amy stepped forward holding a small display case. "There's more, Mom. Inside the ship, at the heart of the gravitational field generator, we've placed this." She opened the case to reveal a small wooden piece, worn and weathered. Donna recognized it immediately. A fragment of the old shed's floorboard. "A piece of where it all began will travel to the stars," Amy explained. "Along with this." Alan held up a data chip. "We've included the complete story of how you raised us in that shed, how you sacrificed everything to educate us. Future generations will know that this mission began with a mother's love and determination." Overwhelmed with emotion, Donna could barely speak. The space agency director continued the briefing, explaining the details of the mission. The Horizon would travel to Alpha Centauri, the nearest star system to Earth, a journey that would take just under 5 years using the new technology. The crew of 8 scientists would conduct research there before beginning the return journey. This would have been impossible without the Miller gravitational field technology, he explained. Previous estimates for such a journey ranged from 40 to 100 years. Your children have compressed that time frame to a single-decade round trip. After the briefing, Donna was escorted to a special viewing area where she would watch the launch alongside heads of state and other dignitaries. As she waited for the ceremony to begin, she noticed a familiar figure approaching, Carol Hayes, now in her 80s, walking slowly with a cane. "Carol," Donna exclaimed, embracing her old friend. "I didn't know you would be here." "Wild horses couldn't keep me away," Carol replied. "From those first lessons in your shed to sending a ship to the stars, I wouldn't miss this for the world." The two women sat together as the launch preparations continued. On a nearby screen, they could see inside the mission control room where Alan and Amy worked with their team, making final adjustments to the gravitational field systems. "You did it, Donna," Carol said softly. "You gave them the stars." Donna shook her head. "They earned the stars themselves. I just gave them a chance to learn." The countdown began. The assembled crowd fell silent as the massive engines of the Horizon ignited. The spacecraft rose slowly at first, then with increasing speed as it climbed toward the heavens. As the ship disappeared from view, Donna thought about the journey that had brought them here. From a desperate young widow moving her children into a storage shed to watching their creation soar toward another star. It seemed impossible, yet it had happened. After the successful launch, a celebration was held at the Space Center. Scientists, officials, and crew families gathered to commemorate the historic moment. During the event, the mission commander called for attention and invited Donna to the stage. "Mrs. Miller," he said, handing her a sealed envelope. "Your children ask that you open this now, before we begin our journey to the stars." With trembling hands, Donna opened the envelope and read the message inside. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked up at the large screen showing the horizon, now a small dot moving away from Earth. "They've named the first planned settlement on Alpha Centauri," she announced, her voice breaking with emotion. "It will be called Miller's Shed, because they say that's where humanity's journey to the stars truly began." The crowd erupted in applause. As Donna returned to her seat, she carried with her the knowledge that her years of sacrifice had not only changed her children's lives, but had helped to open the pathway to the stars for all of humanity. That night, looking up at the stars from outside the Space Center, Donna remembered the words she had spoken so often to her children in their little shed. "What's in your heads no one can ever take away." Those words, born of hardship and hope, had helped launch humanity toward the stars.